start with Tom Watkins from AFP.
First, I was wondering if any of you could please respond. Doesn't this highlight how bad the security situation is even in the capital? Then I'd like to ask each one of your questions. Mr. President, if I may, there are reports that President Trump pressured to close the Taliban office in Doha. Are you going to agree to that? Then for Secretary Mattis, what is your current assessment of how much weaponry and support Russia and Iran are now providing the Taliban? And finally, for Secretary General, NATO has praised the new conditions-based approach for Afghanistan, but some European officials are grumbling that not enough has changed. How do you persuade European members to support this indefinite extension to the Afghan mission? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. There has been an attack. Our CRU, our special forces, are dealing with it. This is attacking civilian targets is a sign of weakness, not strength. Simultaneously, you need to take account they are losing against every single Afghan army corps. The conduct of war this year, its leadership has been exceptional, but terror does not recognize boundaries. Is an attack on London a sign of weakness of London or the heinousness of the terrorists? We stand together against the forces of terror, and we will contain them. The report is a rumor, and let's leave it at the level of the rumor. It's not a policy. Mr. Secretary.
On the question of how to make sure that European allies are contributing troops to the NATO mission in Afghanistan, I will say the following, and that is that a stable and secure Afghanistan is in the interest of NATO. The more stable Afghanistan is, the more safe will we be. So that's the reason why we are in Afghanistan, because we have seen that it is extremely important to support Afghanistan in their fight against terrorism, because that's also our fight against terrorism. And we have to make everything we can, or we have to do everything we can to prevent Afghanistan once again becoming a safe haven for international terrorists. We saw what happened last time that was the case back in 2001, 9/11. So I'm absolutely convinced that European allies will not only support the US new strategy in words, but also in deeds. At our defense ministerial meeting in June, we actually decided to increase the troop levels of the NATO mission in Afghanistan, and several allies have already started to come up and step up their pledges to send more troops. So they are sending troops to Afghanistan because it is in their interest to have a more stable and secure Afghanistan.
I want to mention something about the attack on the international airport. If in fact there was an attack, I've only heard some press reports so far, not confirmed, but an attack on an international airport anywhere in the world is a criminal act by terrorists. It's designed to go after generally innocent people to make some sort of statement, and this is a classic definition of what the Taliban are up to right now. It defines their approach to how they see their role here, and if in fact this is what they have done, they will find the Afghan security forces continuing on the offensive against them in every district of the country right now. So it is what it is, but it's also the reason why we band together and we don't question what we're doing here. On the role of anybody providing support to the Taliban, I would just put it this way. Terrorism is a scourge for everyone in this world. Those two countries that you mentioned, Tom, have both suffered losses due to terrorism. So I think it'd be extremely unwise to think that they can somehow support terrorists in another country and not have it come back to haunt them. But I'm not willing to discuss the specifics at this time on those two countries.
Thank you.
نزدیک شما در مجمع عمومی سازمان ملل متحد گفتین که فرصت است برای پاکستان که درگیر شود با گفتگوها با افغانستان، وارد گفتگوها با افغانستان شود. آیا شما پاسخ از پاکستان دریافت کردین در این مورد؟ و my next question goes to Mr. Secretary of Defense. What do you think if Pakistan not take any action regarding the safe havens? What the next steps will be?
تشکر. ماحول تغییر کرده. ما آماده مذاکرات همه جانبه هستیم که صلح، ثبات و رفاه در منطقه قایم شد. توپ در میدان پاکستان است که از این فرصت که یک فرصت طلایی است استفاده مثبت میکنه. علائم اولیه بد نیست، اما قبل از وقت است که قضاوت کنیم. اما وظیفه ما است که آینده نگر باشیم و از حال برای هدفی که مردم افغانستان حداقل 40 سال برش ماطل بودن که ضرورت یک پالیسی همه جانبه منطقه‌ای از طرف شرکای بین‌المللی ماست که امروز فضل خداوند استراتژی وجود داره در موجودیت دو بزرگوار که در دو طرف هستند. افغانستان موقفش برحق است و امید داریم که پیام صلح و همکاری ما جذب شود و به پیش بره.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree 100% with President Ghani that this South Asia strategy and this renewed commitment is an opportunity for Pakistan to engage in the counter-terror campaign. The South Asia strategy is not exclusive of someone. It is inclusive for all responsible states that want to stop terrorism in its tracks and defend the innocent. So I see this as an opportunity, and we will work this issue forward with that idea in mind, that vision in mind.
Thank you. Jennifer.
How have the new rules of engagement changed the battlefield in the fight against the Taliban? And Mr. President, have the new rules of engagement caused you any concern over whether there'll be more civilian casualties?
Jennifer, the point I would make is that for many years, the NATO forces have operated with one fundamental precept, and that is we are here to protect the Afghan people while we attack the terrorists. We are up against an enemy right now that intentionally fights from among innocent people, that intentionally hides behind women and children, that intentionally tries to draw fire on the innocent. And we do everything humanly possible, whether you call them rules of engagement, you call them the traditional chivalry of the NATO forces, we do everything possible to protect the innocent on the battlefield. We're not the perfect guys, but we are the good guys. And we will continue to do everything possible. There will never be a time when we decide that the safety of the non-combatants, of the innocents on the battlefield, is something to be bartered away for some sort of military advantage. We would hope for a Taliban that would show some sort of consideration, but they have proven over years they have no consideration, no respect for the Afghan people. But we will continue to do our level best and everything humanly possible to avoid any casualties.
که ایالات متحده آمریکا چه تعداد سرباز به افغانستان میفرسته. یک موضوع دیگه که پاکستان بارها در طول 17 سال تعهد همکاری و مبارزه با تروریسم داده، اما وقتی در عمل ثابت شده طور دیگه عمل کرده. آیا مشخص بعد از اعلام استراتژی امریکا تا هنوز کدام نشانهایی را شما دیدین که پاکستان همکاری بکنه و اگر نکنه اقدام بعدی امریکا چی است؟ مشخص چی کار میخواین شما بکنین؟ آیا میخواین تحریم‌های نظامی و اقتصادی بالای پاکستان وضع کنین یا مشخص سرباز بفرستین به خاطر از بین بردن پناهگاه تروریست‌ها، چیزی که در استراتژی امریکا هم در او اشاره شده؟ تشکر.
Yeah, the number of troops we're bringing in, we are bringing in reinforcements, and those reinforcements are designed to add more advisors to your units in the field and more trainers in your military schools. In other words, the Afghan forces continue to take the lead, as they should, in the defense of their country, but we are going to give them more advantage to the NATO access and advantage from the NATO air forces overhead to make sure that at no time does the Taliban own the high ground. We will always own the high ground, and we are going to make certain those aircraft have a connection to the troops on the ground who are fighting to protect their people. I prefer not to go into the specific numbers right now. We are bringing in more Americans. There are also more coalition forces, non-Americans who are coming in. I don't want to tell the enemy exactly what we're doing, but the whole point is to make certain that we have a compelling battlefield advantage over anything the Taliban tries to mass against your forces. We're not going to stand for that. So far as Pakistan, we will watch Pakistan's choices. We will engage with Pakistan. We will continue to work in a unified way between NATO, the coalition, the Afghan government, and the other regional governments in South Asia as we try to set the conditions for a positive set of nations in teamwork against the terrorists, Taliban, Daesh, ISIS, whoever they might be. There's an increasing collusion. There's increasing teamwork among the various terrorist bands, and I would just tell you that this simply gives a more impetus to those of us who are against terrorism to work together.
Yes, hello, thank you very much. This question is for Secretary Mattis and Secretary General Stoltenberg. Under the new strategy for Afghanistan, what are the metrics you're using to define success? How will you know you're winning and that the new policy is making a difference?
Bill, what we're going to do is we're going to take the compact that has been put together. We're going to match it to the NATO mandate of support to the Afghans. We're going to then evaluate President Ghani's more than 200 benchmarks, plus we have others we are going to engage with the Afghans to adopt as well as we mature this metric system. And we will evaluate them on a frequent basis, some of them on a monthly, some of them on a yearly basis, depending on what kind of metrics we're using for which issues. And we are going to be monitoring them across the various issues that have been spoken about up here today. Who initiates the most fights with the enemy? How are we doing on selection of junior officers from NCO ranks? How are we doing on counter-corruption? All of this comes together in an integrated whole-of-government, whole-of-coalition campaign. And the ongoing evaluation will be transparent. In other words, we will share all of our data, we will review it together, and we'll make adaptations as needed. Secretary General.
The main reason for NATO being in Afghanistan is to prevent Afghanistan becoming a safe haven for international terrorists. And the best way to achieve that is to enable the Afghans themselves to stabilize their own country. And we have made a lot of progress because not so many years ago, there were more than 100,000 NATO troops in a big combat operation in Afghanistan. Now we are, 13,000 is the current level. And the main purpose of that mission is to train and assist and advise the Afghans. And the Afghan security forces took over responsibility for the security in this country in 2015. So we are step by step enabling the Afghans to handle the situation in Afghanistan themselves, and that's the best way to achieve the main goal of our presence, namely to make sure that Afghanistan not once again is a safe haven for international terrorists. And that is important for us, because instability in Afghanistan is not only a problem for the Afghans, but it is also a big problem and threat to people living in NATO-allied countries. Let me also, since it was asked in the beginning, just say that I totally agree, of course, with President Ghani and Secretary Mattis on the comments on the attack. An attack on a civilian airport is a criminal act, it's an act of terrorism, and it's a sign of weakness, not of strength, and that's exactly why I would like to commend the Afghan security forces which are handling these kinds of attacks, and yet another example of how how professional they are, how committed they are, and how they are able to handle these kind of security threats which happens in Afghanistan, and just underlines why we will continue to train and assist and advise them.
با عرض سلام و ادب، در اول از وزیر دفاع آمریکا و دبیرکل ناتو سفرشان به افغانستان خوش آمدید میگم. من دو سوال دارم، یک سوالم از جناب رئیس جمهور است و سوال بعدی هم از آقای ماتیس وزیر دفاع ایالات متحده آمریکا است. آقای رئیس جمهور گزارش ها میرسانه که شما با دونالد ترامپ رئیس جمهور ایالات متحده آمریکا در واشنگتن در مورد بسته شدن دفتر سیاسی طالبان در قطر گفتگو کردید. آیا حتی ایالات متحده آمریکا آقای ترامپ خواستار شده از حکومت افغانستان تا این دفتر را بسته کنه؟ آیا حکومت افغانستان در صورتی که ایالات متحده آمریکا بخواهد دفتر بسته شود، حکومت افغانستان تمایل دارد تا این دفتر را بسته بکنه و یا نه؟ آقای ماتیس، پس از اعلام راهبرد شما، یگانه کشوری که مخالفتش نشان داد با این راهبرد حکومت پاکستان بود. حکومت پاکستان حتی با این صدایش توانست کشورهای از جمله روسیه و چین وادار بسازد تا از این راهبرد در برابر این راهبرد مخالفت نشان بدن. با وجود که ایالات متحده آمریکا میداند که پناهگاه امن در خاک پاکستان هست، آیا برنامه وجود دارد تا ایالات متحده آمریکا به خاطر نابودی هراس افغانان در خاک پاکستان پناهگاه امنش هراس افغانی را البته مورد آموزش قرار بده و یا نه؟ تشکر.
Thank you. You know, we've just rolled the strategy out, and before I consider making any pronouncement about its success or failure, or about, you know, as far as somebody looking at it saying they don't like it, I want to engage with them first. You understand that we need to engage, we need to sit down together and talk very openly and frankly about where we're at today, where we've been, and where we're going to go. And so those discussions will be ongoing, and you have seen the strategy yourself, so you know where our position is, and we'll move forward along those lines.
شاید جواب واضح نبوده باشه. راجع جزء موضوعات بحث ما نبود. گزارشی که آمده افواس به اساس مذاکرات استوار نیست. در ماحول تغییر ما باید سر دفتر فکر جدی کنیم و اگر ضرورتش باشه دولت افغانستان در این بار تصمیم خواهد گرفت و اگر در ضرورت الغایش باشه هم دولت افغانستان سرش تصمیم خواهد گرفت. و البته همکارای بین‌المللی ما در بخش صلح همگام هستند با ما. هدف اساسی را فراموش نکنید که ضرورت یک راه حل سیاسی بر از این معضله است و بازم تاکید میکنم که یک تغییر اساسی در ماحول منطقوی انشالله در حال ایجاد است و ما باید از استفاده کنیم. تشکر.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, a question on Iraq for you. I wondered if you could give us some reaction to the Kurdish vote toward independence in Iraq and how that might affect American forces operating there. And Mr. President Ghani and Secretary General Stoltenberg, as you know, Secretary Mattis returned from India. Do you see that there's a risk of the U.S. strategy vis-a-vis India could backfire when it comes to potentially angering Pakistan more and getting it to move in the wrong direction, not in the right direction with regard to Afghanistan? Thank you.
We welcome the new U.S. strategy for many different reasons. One reason why we welcome the new U.S. strategy announced by President Trump recently is that it has this regional approach. And this region includes both Pakistan and India. So therefore we have both those nations have to be included in a regional approach. We urge all countries in the region to support an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace process. And I can't see, there is no reason that dialogue and to have India as part of this regional approach should create any problems. I think on the opposite, if India was not included, that would be a big mistake. So we urge all countries to participate, but as part of an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace process.
Geography is compelling. There's several nations in South Asia. We have to deal with all of them. And you know, in the case of India, they have been very, very generous in their assistance, development assistance to Afghanistan. And I believe they are committed to doing even more to help the people of Afghanistan. Certainly that cannot be seen as contrary to another nation's interest to help people who are working their way out of many, many difficult years since the Soviet invasion. As far as in Iraq, we have had no impacts to date based on the Kurdish referendum, and we're engaged with all the different parties in the area there right now politically, but militarily it's had no impact.
Well, thank you. First, India is a major partner in development. In Brussels conference, India pledged a very generous sum of $1 billion for assisting the Afghan people. Second, India is our largest export partner. The largest amount of exports from Afghanistan go to India. And third, India is potentially one of the largest investors in Afghanistan. We have two choices, either a lose-lose regional strategy or a win-win regional strategy. In a win-win regional strategy, we need to all recognize that a stable Afghanistan is in everybody's benefit, and Afghanistan can become the platform for regional cooperation. Afghan territory will not be permitted to be used for destabilization of any of our neighbors, and this is a cardinal principle with us. We do not differentiate between good and bad terrorism and do not engage in destabilizing our neighbors. But a central component of sovereignty is the ability to have relationship with a third country. We are having an equally productive dialogue with China. China, again, is a fundamental economic regional power, and we are having the same dialogue with Azerbaijan and then with the Gulf. It needs to be seen as part of an approach that the natural resources of Afghanistan, its location, and the immense talent of its people can only be developed as part of a regional approach. And I hope that the necessary wisdom that is required to embark on a win-win strategy starts in this South Asia strategy is a harbinger of things to come.
مننه ښاغلی ولسمشر زما پوښتنه په لومړي سر کې ښاغلی میټس ته راجع ده دا چې په لومړي سر کې مې پوښتنه ښاغلي میټس ته راجع ده. د امریکا ستراتیژي د افغانستان په تړاو باندې په دې کې په پاکستان باندې زیات فشارونه وارد شوي وو. طبعا په پاکستان له دغو فشارونو په اندېښنه کې دی، خو دغسې ناڅاپي د امریکا په سیاست کې د پاکستان پر وړاندې تغییر په څه معنا دی؟ حال دا چې وړاندې حکومتونو د افغانستان امریکا ته په وار وار ویلي وو چې د ترهګرو تمویل، تجهیز او اکمال له پاکستان څخه کیږي، خو په دې تړاو باندې امریکا هغه مهال بې تفاوته پاتې شوه. اوس چې دغه تغییر په سیاست کې راغلی دی، دا په څه معنا دی؟ او مسله دوهمه دغه ده چې د امریکا ناټو او په ټوله کې نړیوال افغانستان ته د ترهګرۍ د له منځه وړلو لپاره راغلي دي. ادعا یې دغه ده چې ترهګري په افغانستان کې له منځه وړي، خو دغه ډلې ترهګرې ډلې چې زیاتې هم شوې او تعقیبه هم شوې، د دوی په حضور کې دغه کار وشو، ولې دغسې وشول؟ مننه.
Well, first of all, I think we have to look at the history of where this all began. And when you look back at the history, it creates a very difficult framework for Afghanistan as a country, for Afghanistan's people. When the Soviets came in with the invasion, they basically turned the society upside down. Many of the local areas that were under certain types of local control, which was acceptable to the Afghan government in those days, they were eviscerated. They were destroyed by the Soviet invasion. And in that social fabric being torn apart, I think an awful lot of refugees were created. Children were left without parents. Family structures were destroyed. Tribal alignments were basically thrown against each other. And by the time we see the Soviets leave, much of the damage had been done. You have children who are going to schools which are teaching them hatred at a young age. And then you're trying to come in now with a review of this and say, how could this be? Well, that is exactly why we redid our strategy, why we sat down with members of your government, taking information from them, and why we looked at this regionally to begin with, why we decided to realign our forces into almost a totally advisory role and teaching role and expand that role so that we can turn this situation around. You know, there's a saying in the game of golf, you have to play the ball where it lies. I cannot change where the ball lies today. All I can commit to you is that we stand united with your government of national unity and with the Afghan people to restore peace in this turbulent time. And that means we're all going to have to work together across the South Asia region, and that's the way we plan to go forward on what President Ghani defined as a win-win regional strategy. And that's our commitment here today.
یا به څلوېښت کاله تېرو څلوېښت کالو باندې غږېږئ یا به نن اقدام کوئ سبا وګټئ. دا چې تېر کې څه سوي وو مسؤلیت د هغه اشخاصو ده چې هلته مسؤل وو. موږ ملي مسؤلیت دا و چې ثابته کړو چې د افغانستان امنیتي و دفاعي قوا په خپلو پښو درېدلی سي، له دې خاورې نه دفاع کولی سي. او که دوی سرشندنه نه وه، نن به موږ دې پیمان ته نه رسېدلو. دا مه هېروئ چې موږ دفاعي او امنیتي قوتونه سنګرو کې دي. دوی قرباني ته باید ټول قدر ورکړي او د دې عزت وکړي. دوم، هم پاکستان ته هم طالبانو ته په مجرد چې دا بار ما په اوږو راغی، موږ د سولې لاس وړاندې کړ. مسئول د جنگ د افغانستان دولت او بین المللي قوه نه دي. مسئول د جنگ هغه افراد دي چې توریستي حرکات شروع کړل، د سولې پیغام یې وننیو، جنگ ته یې دوام ورکړ. نن ماحول بدل سوی او په دې بدل ماحول کې موږ نه غواړو چې په احساساتو وغږېږو، موږ غواړو په عقل او تدبیر خپل ملي ګټې خوندي کړو. او هیله مې دا ده چې دې فرصت کې موږ ځپل سوي یو، موږ ټوټه ټوټه سوي یو، موږ لام ښی لاس او چپه پښه په مهاجرت کې دي. افغانستان باید برته یو واحد وجود باندې راسي، او لکه چې ما همیشه ویلي دي هیڅ افغان له بل افغان نه برتر نه ده، هیڅ افغان له بل افغان نه کمتر نه ده. دغه ته زمینه برابره سوې او هیلهمند یم چې په دې تغییر سره چې راغلی موږ به د هغه بدلون شاهدان اوسو چې ټول ولس یې غواړي. یو ستراتیژي په اول ورځې باندې ورسره قضاوت نسئ کوی، اما ایله ده چې درته ثابته سوی چې زه ولس ته دروغ نه وایم. زه درته وایم چې ماحول بدل سوی، په دې متغیر ماحول کې راسئ چې عقلاني هدفمند حرکت وکړو او انشاءالله تعالی هم ملي سولې ته به رسیږو او هم منطقه‌ایي اجماع به ژوندي کړو چې د افغانستان ولس له دې درد و غم ووځي. بیا هم غواړم له دواړو مشرانو نه مننه وکړم او د دوی له مرستې نه او له ګډ سفر نه. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Secretary General and Secretary Mattis, my great friends and great friends of Afghanistan, for coming together. This is an unprecedented event that the Secretary of State of the United States, a distinguished general, and Secretary General of NATO, a distinguished diplomat, come together. Your arrival together is a sign of your commitment, but equally the reciprocal commitment of the Afghan people, the Afghan government, the government of national unity, and myself, that whatever sacrifice is required in order to bring enduring peace and stability to this country will be committed to it. And that corruption, the menace that it haunted Afghanistan, is being recognized for what it is, and it's going to be confronted. I don't think that in our history there has been a 3-star general that has received a prison sentence or others or rich men that have been indicted in a court of law. We will redouble our effort. I thank you, Ms. Secretary, for your enormous dedication to this strategy. We want to thank President Trump and your entire team for taking the time. Time was required to arrive at something that was comprehensive, that was holistic. And as always, you partner both against terrorism and for stability or the people of this country. And Ms. Secretary General, please convey our thanks to all the 39 countries that have committed their sons and daughters to us. And let me state one thing categorically. There is no return to combat role either for NATO or for the United States. The role is advise, train, and assist, and this will ensure that our security and defense forces are enabled to do what is our patriotic duty and historic obligation to do. Thank you.
Thank you. With this, our press briefing is concluded.